What if I told you that the moment you hated most in the MCU was also the moment that made you fall deeper in love with it? That's the twisted beauty of betrayal and redemption in Marvel's universe. One second you're screaming at your screen, cursing a character's name. The next, you're ugly crying because that same character just broke your heart in the most beautiful way possible. The MCU has mastered this emotional roller coaster, and whether you realize it or not, these moments of betrayal and redemption are exactly why you can't look away. Let's start with the betrayal that still haunts fans to this day, the one that literally cost half the universe. Star-Lord, Peter Quill, the guy who made space cool again with his mixtapes and dance moves. For a while, he was the lovable underdog everyone rooted for. Then came Avengers: Infinity War, and everything changed in the span of 30 seconds. Picture this. The Avengers and Guardians have Thanos right where they want him. The gauntlet is almost off. Iron Man, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, Mantis, Drax, everyone is giving their absolute best. Victory is literally within reach. Then Quill learns that Thanos killed Gamora, and he loses it. One emotional outburst. One punch. That's all it took to ruin everything. The plan falls apart, Thanos escapes, and billions of lives vanish into dust. Fans didn't just dislike Star-Lord after that moment, they despised him. Social media exploded with rage. Reddit threads filled with blame. Memes flooded every corner of the internet. People weren't asking if he made a mistake. They were asking why anyone ever trusted him in the first place. Here's the thing though. That betrayal, that unforgivable moment of weakness, it was devastatingly human. Quill didn't betray the team because he was evil or selfish. He betrayed them because he loved someone so much that losing her shattered his ability to think straight. That's what makes it hurt even more. The MCU didn't give us a villain in that moment. It gave us a mirror, showing us exactly what we'd probably do in the same situation. And that's utterly terrifying. But if Star-Lord represents the betrayal born from love, then there's another character who represents something even more painful. The betrayal born from duty. Icarus from Eternals shocked everyone, not because he turned evil, but because he was supposed to be the hero. He had the powers, the looks, the leadership qualities. He was set up to be another Captain America or Superman type. Instead, he killed Ajax, lied to his family for centuries, and was willing to let Earth and everyone on it die just to follow orders from a celestial god he'd never even met. When Icarus betrayed the Eternals, it wasn't a moment of rage or weakness. It was a calculated decision rooted in blind faith. He believed so deeply in his purpose, in serving Arishem, that he couldn't see past it. Even love couldn't save him. When he stood face to face with Cersei, the woman he'd loved for 7,000 years, he couldn't kill her. But he also couldn't join her. So what did he do? He flew straight into the sun. A tragic ending for a tragic character who chose duty over everything and lost it all. The weight of his failure, his betrayal of both his god and his family, crushed him so completely that death seemed like the only answer. That's the brutal reality of betrayal in the MCU. It doesn't always come from villains. Sometimes it comes from the people you least expect. Sometimes it comes from those who genuinely think they're doing the right thing. And then there's the betrayal that no one saw coming because it was wrapped in grief, love, and dark manipulation. Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. WandaVision showed us a woman drowning in grief, creating an entire reality just to feel whole again. Fans connected with her pain. They understood her desperation. They rooted for her redemption. The series ended with Wanda making the painful choice to let go, to free the people of Westview, to sacrifice her fake family for the greater good. It was heartbreaking and beautiful. Fans thought her story was complete. And then Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness happened. Wanda went from a broken hero trying to cope with loss to a full-blown villain slaughtering anyone who stood between her and the children she created in a fantasy. She murdered the Illuminati without hesitation. She burned Kamartaj to the ground. She hunted a teenager across dimensions with cold, calculated brutality. The shift was jarring. Fans were divided. Some argued that the Darkhold corrupted her, that she wasn't in control. Others felt betrayed, believing that Marvel had destroyed years of character development in a single film. Let's talk about the God of Mischief. The character who went from villain to absolute legend. Loki started as the guy who tried to enslave Earth, killed Agent Coulson, and brought an alien army to New York. He was supposed to be hated, but something unexpected happened. Fans fell in love with him. Why? Because unlike other villains, Loki had layers. He wasn't evil for the sake of being evil. He was hurt, jealous, desperate for approval in a world that always chose Thor over him. Beneath all the lies and schemes was a broken man who just wanted to belong. His redemption didn't happen overnight. It was a slow burn that started in Thor. The Dark World evolved in Ragnarok and peaked when he tried to kill Thanos in Infinity War to save his brother. That moment, that sacrifice, it transformed Loki from a villain into a hero. And just when fans thought his story was over, the Loki series brought him back and gave him the most poetic ending imaginable. He became the god of stories, sitting alone at the center of time, holding the multiverse together for eternity, sacrificing his freedom, his chance at happiness, his ability to be with the people he'd grown to love, all to save everyone, all to become something greater than a villain or a hero, a protector. If that's not a redemption arc, nothing is. Loki proved that the worst villain can become the greatest hero if they're willing to let go of their ego and embrace purpose over power. But no redemption story in the MCU hits harder than Bucky Barnes, the Winter Soldier. Bucky didn't choose to be a villain. He was brainwashed, tortured, turned into a weapon against his will. For decades, Hydra used him to assassinate targets, including Tony Stark's parents. When he finally broke free from their control, he wasn't celebrated as a hero. He was hunted. People saw him as a monster, a killer, a threat, even though none of it was his fault. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier gave Bucky the closure he desperately needed. It showed him going to therapy, facing the families of the people he'd killed, trying to atone for crimes he didn't commit. His redemption wasn't about proving he was a good person. It was about forgiving himself for things he had no control over. And when he finally reclaimed his identity, when he stopped being the Winter Soldier and became Bucky Barnes again, it felt earned. Every moment of pain, every session of therapy, every apology he made, it all built toward a man learning to live with his past instead of running from it. That's the difference between a good redemption arc and a great one. It has to be earned, it has to hurt, it has to feel real. Which brings us to Nebula, the character who had the most understated yet powerful transformation in the entire MCU. Nebula started as a cold, bitter assassin who hated her sister and worshipped her abusive father Thanos. She was a villain through and through. Every interaction dripped with resentment and rage. But piece by piece, film by film, she changed. In Guardians Volume 2, she reconciled with Gamora, finally admitting that all she ever wanted was a sister. In Infinity War, she fought alongside the Avengers. In Endgame, she bonded with Tony Stark, confronted a past version of herself, and literally killed who she used to be. That moment when Nebula shoots her past self to protect the people she now considers family, that's when you realize how far she's come. She went from someone desperate for Thanos' approval to someone willing to destroy everything he stood for. And she did it quietly, without grand speeches or dramatic declarations. Just raw, honest growth. Nebula's redemption reminds us that not every transformation needs a spotlight. Sometimes the quietest changes are the most profound. And then there's the man who started it all, the one whose redemption defined the entire MCU, Tony Stark, Iron Man. In 2008, Tony was a billionaire playboy who made weapons and didn't care who got hurt. He was arrogant, reckless, selfish. He partied while people died from the weapons he created. Captain America once told him, "You're not the guy to make the sacrifice play." And Tony spent the next decade proving him wrong. He flew a nuke through a portal in the Avengers, fully expecting to die. He created Ultron trying to protect the world, even though it backfired catastrophically. He signed the Sokovia Accords to take responsibility for the damage the Avengers caused. Every mistake he made, he tried to fix. When Tony snapped his fingers in Endgame, destroying Thanos and his army, it wasn't just a heroic moment. It was the culmination of an 11-year journey from selfishness to sacrifice. He didn't do it for glory or recognition. He did it so his daughter could grow up in a world worth living in. And when Pepper told him, "You can rest now," fans around the world broke down crying. Because Tony's redemption wasn't just about saving the universe. It was about proving that anyone, no matter how flawed, can become a hero if they're willing to change. Tony Stark went from the man who wouldn't lay down on the wire to the man who laid down his life. That's not just character development. That's complete transformation. That's what makes the MCU's betrayals and redemptions so powerful. They're messy. They're complicated. They don't always make sense in the moment. Star-Lord's betrayal still stings. Wanda's villain turn still divides fans. Icarus's suicide still feels tragic. But Loki's sacrifice gives us hope. Bucky's journey shows us that healing is possible even when you've been broken beyond recognition. Nebula's transformation proves that we can outgrow who we used to be, no matter how deep the damage runs. And Tony's final snap proves that the greatest redemption is the one you earn through a lifetime of trying to be better. These moments, the betrayals that made you scream and the redemptions that made you cry, they're why the MCU matters. Because at the end of the day, these stories aren't just about superheroes and villains. They're about us, about the mistakes we make, the people we hurt, and the possibility that we can be better tomorrow than we were yesterday. So the next time you watch a Marvel film and a character betrays your trust, remember this. That betrayal might just be the first step in the greatest redemption story you've ever seen. Because in the MCU, nobody stays a villain forever, and nobody's redemption comes easy. Every hero falls. Every villain has a chance to rise. That's not just good storytelling. That's life itself. That's the love-hate journey. That's what keeps us coming back. We hate them for breaking our hearts. We love them for putting it back together. And somehow, that makes the story even more beautiful. Because the MCU taught us something profound. That betrayal and redemption aren't opposites. They're two sides of the same coin. And that coin is what makes us human.